Hello, my name is Markus Fenske, and this is the second episode of my podcast, Meditation and Healing. The podcast of grounded spirituality, healthy and happy life. In this episode, I have an interview with Bhudhara. Bhudhara lives in England. He is a Vedic astrologist, a life coach, and founder of the Cranmore Foundation, a non-profit institute which deals with the studies of ancient scriptures. And Bhudhara is one of the founders of the Dharma model, which contains the main principles of very different spiritual paths. And Bhudhara gives online classes with this Dharma model. He gives also online classes with Bhakti-Yoga and also private sessions for astrology and life coach. And his absolute goal is to bring out the best in everyone. So have fun with the interview. It deals with my 6 essential questions, and enjoy it.
Okay. I'm very happy to meet you, and you are my first interview partner, and it's such an honor.
Thank you.
And I have some questions for you, and it's okay. I'm very nervous, and
don't be nervous.
I start with my first question.
I'll try not to be nervous too.
Yeah. So what means meditation for you, and how do you meditate?
It's a good question. I think there's a lot of interest in meditation nowadays, with mindfulness and people understanding that the mind can present problems to us. I follow an ancient pathway of meditation that comes out of the Bhakti-Yoga tradition of India, which is, you could call it Bhakti Vedanta. And the method that I follow is to use mantra meditation, which engages my mind initially in the morning, let's say using 3 senses. So the mantra that I chant is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay.
And basically, there's a very deep philosophy behind the meaning of that. But if I had to sum it up in a nutshell, it's a mantra for invoking pure love in one's heart. Okay, pure love for the divine, and hopefully to create for oneself the opportunity to be an agent of pure love in everyone I meet, or in all the work that I do in my daily life. So in the morning, my ideal morning is up early, 5:30, and I sit and I chant for a few hours. And so I chant on these beads. My guru chanted on them years ago. And so each bead I chant one mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And when I'm touching the beads, so I can feel my sense of touch. So I'm also speaking the mantra, but I'm also hearing the sound.
Yes.
So I have 3 senses engaged. And in the Vedas, it says if you can engage 3 senses in deep meditation, then it's much easier to control the mind. So mantra means, man means mind, and tra means to release. So through the repetition of these sacred mantras, one can find release from the mundane mind, which is just always chattering in the background with all kinds of silly stuff. If everybody knew what our minds were chattering. We would be very embarrassed, probably, most of us, all kinds of crazy things go on.
Mm-hmm.
So the Vedas say, use mantra meditation. And that's my that's my method of meditating. Also, I like to read. So reading for me is a type of meditation.
Okay.
Reading scriptural books, so books that have been written by persons who are already accomplished in this mantra meditation business, in this cultivation of pure love. So I read that for inspiration. So I'll read a little bit, I'll chant a little bit, I'll read a little bit. And then I also, one last thing, we go out to we have a little greenhouse where we have sacred basil growing, tulsi. So if you go to India, everybody respects tulsi as being a sacred tree. And so I go and I associate with tulsi, and that also inspires me.
Okay.
Being part of nature,
Yeah.
connecting with nature.
Mm-hmm. And when you meditate, where is your focus? When you chant, do you visualize something or?
Well, that's a good question. There are chances to visualize because I have deities of Lord Krishna that I can look to and concentrate my vision on. But a lot of times, because I've been doing this for a long time, I'm able to simply remember past times with my guru or places I've been in, holy places in India, or being able to remember my deity or something. So that's called Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So Shravana means hearing, some philosophy about, like you're asking questions. And you're hearing my answer. So that's Shravanam in Sanskrit, means to hear. Then Kirtanam means to chant. So after you hear about something like this, then you try it. You try to chant and see what it does for you. But then if you practice for some time, then Smaranam, which is remembering, comes automatically into your mind. So I don't always look at a deity. Sometimes my memory's sufficient. But mostly what I try to do is concentrate on the sound of the mantra.
Okay.
So my ears become my eyes, in a sense.
Okay. So your inner focus is chanting the mantra and at the same moment hearing it.
Yes.
And feeling it.
Yeah, and feeling it.
Okay.
And also, ideally, feeling it in my heart, because it's not just a head thing.
Yes.
It's not just stopping the mind, it's opening the heart. So it's putting aside all the things that would block that and calling out in, you could say, supplication. That's an English word to kind of cry out. My Guru Maharaj, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he said that chanting the holy names of Krishna is like the genuine crying of the child for its mother. So in the same way when, a little baby's crying for, oh, mother, come help me, I'm hungry, or whatever. In the same way, our relationship with the divine has a little bit of that aspect to it, that we're calling out for that love. We want to make that connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the divine, and that's my second question. What means God or the divine for you personally?
I've read a lot of different philosophies in my life. I started my journey out when I was, well, actually very young, really. I had my first, let's say, transcendental experience when I was about 6 years old. And that was related to Lord Jesus.
Yes.
And that is a whole long story, but it got me interested in spiritual practices, and I began to read a lot, and then studying yoga and meditation, like we've been talking about.
Yes.
So, like I have found by doing all this reading, what the divine is interpreted or understood by different people according to their philosophical points of view or their culture or whatever. So I went through a journey of finding, okay, what is that thought? What kind of thought? Where does that bring me? What does that mean? And eventually I ended up in India. And that's where I began the process of Bhakti-Yoga. So in Bhakti-Yoga, the divine means the Supreme Lord. Not just the Supreme Lord, but especially Sri Sri Radha Krishna. It means that in Vedic thinking, God is not just male, but God is male and female.
Two aspects.
Two aspects in one. Two
Yeah.
aspects in one. And the truth of the matter, the deep esoteric truth, is that the best part of God is the female part.
Yeah.
Right. So why? Because the female part is soft and loving and compassionate and empathetic. And so what the practice of bhakti is to try to connect with that divinity, which is a person. So this is not a popular notion nowadays. Many people think of, when you think about the divine, many people think, oh, it's nature, or it's the universe, or it's a oneness of everything, or it's an energy. But people have a little bit shyness to, let's say, attribute a personality to the divine.
Yeah.
But in the Vedic tradition, in the Bhaktivedanta tradition, they ask the question, why would you want to dispense with the best thing about you? So if I know you as Marcus, I get to know you, I find out what your likes, your dislikes, your personality. That's what's attractive in you, right? If I treat you like you're in the room and I just don't really talk to you, or I treat you as an impersonal object, you're just a stranger, it doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah.
So in the Bhaktivedanta tradition, God is a person and he's pure love. And so that's what the divinity is for me. My guru, one of my gurus, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, he used to say, God is love, love is God. And in a way that sums up the whole thing. That's what the divinity is. So the closer we get to that divine love, you could say the nicer we become. The sweeter we become.
Yeah.
We're gentle, we're kind, we're compassionate. We're not angry. We're not wanting to own everything. We want everybody to have what they need. We want to celebrate life. So divinity also means the celebration of life.
Yes.
You know, very, very important. I could go on, but I'll leave it for that. I'll leave it to that.
Yeah, and I think you already answered that question, but I ask it again. How do you connect with this divinity?
Actually, differently than you might think. It's not just through my chanting or my reading, but how I do it is I try to serve the community. So I try to help people, because in my mind, just me and God is not enough. It's us and God. And in a way, I see God in everybody. So in Sanskrit or in Hindi, there's a greeting where they say namaste. So they fold their hands, they go namaste. Yeah. So namaste means the divine in me sees the divine in you. So for me, connecting with God is being useful to the community, doing counseling work. I'm a Vedic astrologer, I'm a life coach. I've been doing it for 35 years. So it's about helping people deal with their practical problems, but also helping to maybe inspire them on their spiritual journey.
Yes.
You know, to bring some light into their life, according to what they want. I don't proselytize, but I encourage people that, you know, to find the best in them, which is, as I understand it, their pure spirituality, just waiting for them wake up to it.
Okay, so I understood that your way to connect with the divine is to support people and to help them blossom their hearts, and you're a life coach and
to also stop the pain.
Yeah, okay. So stop the suffering.
Stop the suffering.
Yeah, okay.
It's not always easy to stop the suffering, and most of the time you can't really stop the suffering, but through knowledge, like what we have from the Vedas, like Jyotish, like Bhakti-Vedanta, and Vedic astrology and these esoteric sciences, you can give an explanation to the suffering.
Yeah.
And so if you understand why you're suffering, then it actually is a relief, right? If you're suffering and you don't understand why, it's very bad.
Yeah.
Right? So
you help understanding, and through understanding it is a way to master the suffering and go over it.
To transcend the suffering.
Transcend it. Yeah.
Because in the Vedas, the suffering is considered illusion.
Yeah.
The spiritual being that we are, we're associating with our physical bodies and our role in life and this world. But this world, as we all know it, is temporary.
Yeah.
Right? So one time there was a great thing called the Roman Empire, and it's not here anymore. They ruled the world.
Yeah.
Genghis Khan ruled most of the world. Napoleon ruled all of Europe mostly, so on and so on and so on. So empires rise, empires fall.
Yeah.
Bodies come and bodies go. Nations come, nations go. But what doesn't go is the soul. And if you connect with the soul, then that means that you can transcend your suffering.
Okay.
Because the soul is not touched by suffering.
That's interesting. That leads me to my next question.
Okay.
Where's the soul located? Can you tell me about it?
Yes, they're very scientific in the Vedas. The soul in the Vedic thinking, it's very scientific about what is the soul and where it is and what it's doing.
Yeah.
Right? So in Vedic thinking, the soul has three qualities: Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So that translates from Sanskrit as being, so we have an existence, so we always exist. So the soul doesn't perish.
Yeah.
In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that the soul can't be cut, burnt, dried, moistened by water, withered by the wind. So you can't kill it. You can kill the body, but you can't kill the soul. So being, then chit, knowing. We're conscious, we're cognizant, we're aware of ourselves and our life. Isn't that what Descartes said? Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I know I exist, therefore I am. So everyone who's alive knows that they're alive. And we see other people being alive. So being, knowing, and then loving. Ananda means joy. So it means we want to be in relationship with others. We want to be happy in relationships with others. If we don't have anyone else, then we suffer greatly. What's the worst suffering you can give to somebody?
To cut the connection.
Solitary confinement. Put them in the box and shut the door and leave them alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, because we need connection.
Yeah.
And that's what yoga means. Yoga means to connect. It means to reconnect with something divine in us. So, being, knowing, and loving, these are the three qualities of the soul. So, but how big is the soul? And what does it look like? And where, what is it?
Yeah.
Right? It's not a vague notion. In the Svetasutara Upanishad, it describes that the soul is 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair. So I did the maths on that, and I figured out that 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair is 1/500 billionth of a meter. So it's smaller than anything that can even be measured by modern science. And yet it's, according to Gita, it's as bright and light as the sun, and it's pure, and it can't be corrupted. So where does this little tiny particle exist? In our heart.
Okay.
That's where it exists, and that's where the heart gets its power to purify the blood and to give life to the blood and to keep the body going. So according to the Vedas, that's where the soul exists and what the soul is.
Okay.
And it's a person.
The soul is a person.
The soul's person. So you have your identity. You don't know it yet. Today you think you're Marcus. I think, oh, I'm Bhudhara. You know, she thinks she's Lalita, you know, or Jayanti. And tomorrow, in another life, will be somebody else. But the soul has its original, latent, undiscovered truth. And that's what yoga is all about. It's about identifying who you are really. Who is that person? Don't you feel it? I feel it. We all feel it, right? There's so much in us that wants to come out. We know there's more in us.
Yeah.
What is that? How do we get it out? That's what yoga is all about. It's about connecting with that and expressing that and making that real in our life.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It leads me to my next question.
Okay.
What is enlightenment for you?
Well, that is correct. It leads you to the next question. Enlightenment for me, as I understand it, there are different grades of enlightenment. In Sanskrit, Vedanta Tattvat Vidas Tattvam Yajñanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Sabhyate. So there's 3 grades of enlightenment that you can achieve, that's possible to achieve. One is to become Brahman realized. So one is to be, let's say, have a sense of your eternality. You leave the physical body and you merge into the light that is in the effulgence of God. And you enjoy your eternal state, untouched or uncorrupted by birth and death, pain and sorrow. You're existing in a pure state, but you don't have a relationship. So higher than that is Paramatma. So you have Atma, which exists in your heart, and then you have Paramatma. Paramatma means super soul. Atma means soul. Paramatma means super soul.
Okay.
Okay? And so in your heart, you know your conscience. Sometimes your conscience tells you, oh, go this way, or oh, go that way. Yeah. In the Vedas it says that conscience, that inner voice of reason and knowledge, that inner voice of wisdom that comes to us sometimes if we're listening, that's coming from Paramatma. Right?
So
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The first thing is to know that our soul is eternal. That's the first stage. And the second stage is to have a connection to Paramatma.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you can go directly to the topmost without going through those stages. And that's what I'm after. Okay, so what I'm after is an eternal, loving relationship with the Supreme Lord and his consort. Okay, where I'm somehow engaged in rendering some kind of eternal loving service and full bliss and knowledge, you know, in a place in the spiritual world in Goloka where every spoken word is a song, every step is a dance, time is conspicuous by its absence, and everyone's living in the eternal present, right? So there's no birth, death, disease, old age, none of that stuff that we have to tolerate here. And that's what my idea of enlightenment is, that I discover by the mercy of my gurus. They show me from either within my heart or to arrange a guru in my own life. They show me what is my eternal identity and relationship to the Supreme Lord. I have that. You have that. And everybody else has that. And that's the goal.
Okay, your goal is to cultivate a relationship to the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
And to this point where there's no time, whereas every word is a song and every step is a dance, and okay.
In the spiritual world is a riot of pure love and joy.
A riot.
A riot of love. You
Okay.
understand? You know, everyone's in love.
Yeah.
It's just pure love, and everyone's soft-hearted.
Yeah.
Everyone's affectionate, and it's so beautiful, because the source of everything is the most beautiful, right?
Okay.
We live in a beautiful world, but this world is just a reflection, a tiny, tiny reflection. Its beauty is just a reflection of that original beauty. So that's what we're after. Could you live in a world without beauty?
No.
It's not possible. So we don't want to live in an ugly world.
Mm.
So that's the goal according to what I've studied,
Yeah.
what my gurus have taught me. And, you know, I have a sense of that's the destination. And that you get through chanting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Yes.
You know, chant over and over and over again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not madness. It's actually, it's real. It actually works.
Okay.
If you try it, like if anybody wants to try it, do this. Try it for a week. Just a week. Or 5 days. Take 5 days and chant for 1 hour every day. And then if it doesn't work for you, call me and let me know.
Okay, it's a good idea. And once I tried to chant 23 rounds here in the festival, and
Yeah.
it was scary a little bit. Yeah.
And tell me why. Why?
My heart was very open. I was
Yeah.
very touchable.
Yeah. Vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my intellect couldn't follow.
Yeah.
I was trying to grab it, but I was only in feeling. I felt
Yeah.
belong.
Well, it's interesting because in the Bhakti tradition, there's a huge canon of knowledge. So many books, hundreds of books, explaining the philosophy in very deep ways, very precise scientific ways. But all of that knowledge is in support of one thing: opening the heart. So if you chant 23 rounds and your heart is open and your head's not understanding what's going on, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
You know, that's what we want to get out of our heads,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point. You know, we want to get our heads don't solve anything,
Yeah.
right? I mean, look at the world.
Yeah.
Everyone, we got a problem. Oh, I'm going to fix the problem. Oh, no, you're not. It doesn't work that way, does it?
Yeah.
Because every time you try to fix a problem, it only gets worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's because I love Bhakti-Yoga so much, because it's so easy. Chant and you will reach the goal. And my thing is to make kirtan. It's a little bit more melody in the chanting.
I understand that you're interested in finding a way to make spiritual life very practical.
Yeah.
Right? And Bhakti, you don't have to be an intellectual or anything like that at all. You can, as long as you have a heart, as long as you have a breath, and you're curious, that's enough.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, but if you have some intellect, you can also apply it. And I can promise you there's an ocean of knowledge out there that if you spend your whole life, every day, every minute, trying to learn, you will not find the limit of that ocean. It's not possible. I'm 65 now, and I first started chanting when I was 12. Okay, so,
Wow.
and I started reading the books when I was 15. Right.
It's very early.
Well, I'm just saying that
Fortunate.
I don't have a complete mastery of everything.
Mhm.
But there are people that do have that mastery. So I suspect you're going to interview some of those people. It'll be interesting to see what they have to say.
I will, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting, and it leads me to my last question. What is your personal mission here on Earth, and how can people find you if they like to associate with you?
My personal mission on Earth, well, I have a personal mission for me, and then I have a mission of my personal expression. So they're like two things. So my personal expression for me is to achieve some real humility that allows me to be in a state of awe and wonder about the beauty and magic of life, the divinity in everything. So that's my personal mission. For me, I mean. So I want to have that relationship with the divine. I want my life to become an expression of that relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. What would I like to do externally in the world? I would like to continue to help people practically as I do, solving problems, dealing with issues that they have to deal with, finding ways. I sometimes describe that I'm a life strategist. So the Vedic astrology allows me to see lots of levels of reality in the person. And with that knowledge, I can reflect that back to people, and then they get some value from that. They get some answers. But in a deeper sense, where I'm going now in my later life is I'm pretty much only interested in helping people spiritually, because I can see that there's really no material answer for any material problem. Not really. Okay, if you have a health problem, you go to a doctor, he can solve the problem, but it doesn't solve the real problem, which is the fact you have a physical body that doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
Right? So a doctor can't solve your soul's problem. A doctor can, but a spiritual doctor can. So that's called a guru.
Mm-hmm.
So a bona fide guru is very rare, but they are there. And so part of my mission is to make that available to people. I'm not saying I'm a guru. I don't have that pretension, but I know that it's possible to find one. So I want to encourage people on that path, help people find their way.
Yeah.
I think, did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Oh,
Perfect.
and how can they find me?
Yeah.
They can go to michaelgeary.co.uk
Yes.
on the internet. That's MICHAEL GEARY, michaelgeary.co.uk. Read about my work, send me an email, ask me a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will put it in the video. So
they can read it.
They can read it.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. Great.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm still very nervous and very happy. And it's very, very fortunate that they can talk to you, and
Well, I wish you luck with your project. Sounds like a great project.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different kinds of people out there doing different kinds of spiritual things, and everybody's got something to offer.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what's important nowadays. Instead of seeing the difference, we should see the commonality. That's very important, I think. Sectarianism doesn't help anybody. Ever. It makes us feel maybe a little bit secure in our beliefs, but it doesn't really solve the problems of life. So good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.